Hi, everyone. Today's episode is a longer one, but it's packed. I'm talking with Sam Sarsten from Thencan Designs, and we're going deep on local SEO for dietitians. We're specifically talking about the stuff that actually matters when you're trying to get found in your city without accidentally turning your whole practice into weightloss.com. We get into money keywords, service and location pages, Google business profile, telehealth realities, and what to do when you're licensed in multiple states and you don't want your marketing to get a little weird. If you've ever stared at SEO advice online and thought, cool, I hate this and I'm overwhelmed, then this one will help. All right, let's get into it. Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of the Tech Savvy Dietitian. I'm so excited because we have Sam Sarsten here from Thencan Designs. He is an expert in local SEO, and I've learned a lot from him, and I'm excited for you guys to hear from him today. So for those that don't know you, Sam, can you kind of tell us about who you are, what you do, and why you specialize in local SEO?
Yeah, so like you said, I'm Sam, and I specialize in local SEO because a little over 3 years ago, I started on an entrepreneurial journey, kind of on a mission to find a way to help people with what I do. And the name Thencan means thoughtful, and so I wanted to build thoughtful websites. And so I started to show up to networking events, telling people I built websites for small businesses, and everybody said, "Cool, so does Squarespace." And after my ego was deflated, I kept listening to them, and they would often follow that up by asking, "How do you show up higher on Google?" And I started to realize there was probably a little something there. Most small business owners, including dietitians, mostly just want to figure out how can they get results from their marketing experience. Don't really care about the website. Sure, they want it to look nice because nobody wants their brand to not look cool, but yeah, how do we get results out of it? And so I started to dig into that first with my own business, then with my first couple clients, and then turned that into a service. And when I set off to do this, I really wanted to build a business, not just a job. So I've worked on building a team. We're based in Bend, Oregon, where I live, out of one of the lovely bedrooms in my house, but no longer the corner of my bedroom, which is nice to have an actual office. We're remote, and we are 5 to 7 people, depending on how you count it. And we serve a couple dozen clients all over the country, including Canada. And yeah, we really focus on local SEO. We found that it works very well for two particular verticals: experienced contractors, people that come to your house and do a thing, but also like holistic medicine providers. And the reason why I say it like that is because I'm just not talking about your typical doctors at like an office,
Mhm.
although it can work for them. But in that category is where I would probably include dietitians as well, because people that are looking at their medicine from a more holistic perspective are starting to look at those things,
Mhm.
right? And so, we've worked with doulas and naturopaths and acupuncturists
Mhm.
and chiropractors and, a lot of things in between. But those are the two that we found really, really benefit from local SEO, although we've worked with a lot of other businesses, including random things like mortgage brokers, small law firms, storage facilities. It's been a fun journey over the last few years. But yeah, that's essentially what we do. We try to get people to show up higher on Google, which hopefully brings in more leads, which turns into more business so they can grow their businesses, maybe even get some help and take a big step back, because that's ultimately why we started our own businesses, right? Was to start working less. So, we just got to work for 80 hours a few weeks in the middle of all that.
Yeah. No, I love all of that. And it's funny you say so we can work less because I always joke that I traded my 9 to 5 for 24/7 and I'm working on it, but I still
Me too.
probably work a little too much. So, with all the clients that you've worked with, what's one client result that really shows how much local SEO can move the needle for a small business?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's a lot of result. The cool thing is like we've been coming up on, we usually work with our clients for a year. And so at the end of the year, a lot of times we'll kind of debrief for a little bit and then decide, do we keep working? And more often than not, they say, heck yeah, let's either figure
Mhm.
out how do we build a moat around the spot we've got towards the top, or, we're getting so close, especially for those really competitive keywords and in a bigger area. It takes time to really chip away. I've got to hear some really cool results. People hiring team members, people taking multi-week vacations, people signing multi-year leases. When I think results of SEO, I'm thinking about rankings and
Yes.
impressions going up and clicks and contact form submissions, but really it's the business results that really matter. My favorite story is George. He's a cabinet maker in our town, and when we started working together, he'd moved towns, and so a lot of his business had kind of dried up. So he was trying to figure out how to show up locally. We did his website, but when you just do the website, you can only show up so high. And he was actually one of my first clients, and I said, George, you should let me kind of take a chance. I totally undercharged for it, but he said, let's take a stab at it. And, slowly but surely, we watched his shop fill up. He began to start hiring helpers again, just like he had at his last location. And now it's somewhere between 4 to 6 people working for him. He hired a project manager recently. He's expanded his shop space and he's, really been crushing it. Last time we talked, he said he gets 15 to 20 leads per week and he
Wow.
kind of gets to take the cream of the crop and just do
Yeah.
those consultations throughout the month. And so pretty cool to see results like that. And we've seen similar stuff in a lot of the other industries, but I won't bore you with all the details.
Well, I don't think it's boring, but that's so cool. That's what I always tell my clients too. I'm like, I can give you all the reports and all the data, but what I really want to hear is like, is it working with you
Hmm.
building your business? Like, are you getting more clients from what we're doing? Because, that becomes a conversation of, well, if they're landing on your site and they're not converting, then what's wrong? Because I can lead people to you, but if we're not converting them, then what's the point of that? I think that's so cool. The typical things that dietitians, are thought to be associated with are like weight loss. And that becomes tricky for them because they're like, well, when I try to look at keywords that are related to my area of dietitians, it's just weight loss, and I don't want to attract those people necessarily. I'm looking for people that want intuitive eating or eating disorders. Recovery is a little easier because that's a key word. But when it's just general heal your relationship with food, they have a hard time figuring out how they can make their content match what people are looking for. All that to say, what do you think is the number one thing dietitians should know when it comes to local SEO versus what we would say is regular SEO?
Yeah, a lot of good stuff to unpack there. The first
Yeah.
thing I'll say is the dietitians out there, you guys are doing God's work. I grew up as a chubby kid and it
Mhm.
was so hard to build like a healthy relationship with food and it took years and years. And I wish I could have had somebody to help earlier on. So it's really cool that
Mhm.
there's people out there that work on that stuff at a professional level. But when you go on YouTube or you start looking up SEO, the first thing you're going to see is a bunch of stuff about blogs because that's what national SEO is. And,
Mhm.
there's a couple different flavors of SEO. There's like e-commerce SEO if you have products. And the only difference between it is like the different strategy for how you show up higher in Google. We could talk about other search engines later with people using AI more these days. But it's showing up higher in Google. That's the real goal of SEO. And the way you do it depends on what you do. And so the big difference between national SEO and local SEO is, you're trying to work with people in a certain area. And when you search for something, I'll use a search that a lot of people have used. If you're looking for like a hairstylist near me, salon near me, coffee near me, or even just lunch, you're looking for lunch spots, right? And you happen to end up on the little maps thing. You're looking around, you're checking reviews, you're doing things like that. Well, it might be a surprise to people, but people do the same thing when they're looking for something like a dietitian or anything else. And if you can show up in those search results, that can be massively helpful. And the strategy to show up in those search results is actually much different than national SEO. National SEO, you are trying to show up for a keyword like, what was the one you told me just a second ago?
Oh, I said weight loss, but most dietitians are trying to rank for like recipes, which is somewhat impossible.
Oh,
So,
yeah. I
yeah.
mean, think about that. You're competing against all recipes and just like generic magazines that have recipe things. But the secret that a lot of people don't want to talk about because it gets kind of messy is that the way Google sorts its results is by something called authority, which has to do with getting
Mhm.
other websites to point back to your website. And, if you're allrecipes.com, of course you have all this authority because people are already pointing back to that website. There's a reason why Wikipedia shows up first for a ton of search results across the internet. But if you're Jan's dietitian in Columbus, Ohio, that maybe just started a couple years ago, like there's probably some things that are pointing to your website, but not that many. And so you want to be a big fish in a small pond, and you're always going to be a small fish in the national SEO pond until you grow this giant dietitian practice that has a ton of clinicians working underneath you, and you're getting featured all over the place, and you're on great podcasts like Courtney's. But until you've done all that, it's way easier to try to show up locally. And so in those cases, you've started to identify some of the right things, right? It's like, okay, well, something like dietitian near me or dietitian city state, those are your money keywords, right? And then, like you said, maybe things like weight loss show up when you're doing the search results, but sometimes it helps to try to show up for keywords that the right person's going to be going for. One like sidebar is the sales funnel, right? They talk about it kind of looks like an upside down triangle, right? And people are only ever going to they say like 3% of people are at the bottom of the sales funnel ready to work with you. The other
Mhm.
97% are up here. And I always tell people like if people aren't searching for your keywords, especially locally, then that might not be your strategy. And so that's kind of why I'm like, you actually don't have to worry about blogs. Focus on those 3% of people that are actually already ready to work with you and show up for those keywords. If somebody's looking to have a healthy relationship with food and you found a word that people are starting to use and maybe it's newer, so there's not a ton of search traffic, if you can show up for that search result, even though there's not a ton of search volume for it, that might be the perfect person for you. And then all that other stuff where you're providing information, maybe that goes on a different channel. SEO isn't the end all be all to marketing. I like to think of marketing as like a marketing pie chart, and you have different slices, right? You've probably gotten clients through in-person networking. As you get more established, you start to get more clients through referrals, but maybe you have a little bit of an Instagram following, and that's maybe your informational, and you're funneling people down to those keywords. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways to do it, but if you can show up for those money keywords, that's really where the quickest results can come from.
Mhm. I realize I didn't put this in the notes, but I want to ask you. So, a lot of the dietitians I work with, and myself included, we are licensed in specific states. We aren't allowed to work in certain areas. So, obviously, I always tell people start where you are, and we'll get into like the whole virtual, like telehealth thing in a second. But they tend to be hesitant because they're like, but I'm licensed in these other states. But I always try to explain to them you have to start somewhere and you have to start where you are because you can't say that you are somewhere else when you're not. Like you are telehealth wise, but when it comes to local SEO, it's a little different. So, with that being said, what are your thoughts on that kind of situation where someone is number one, virtual, and then number two, if they're licensed in other states, how do they start growing into those areas?
Yeah, the short answer is slowly and naturally.
Yeah.
Everything we do for SEO, we want to try to mimic. You kind of want to pretend like this is what I tell my team, this is what I tell the people I teach SEO to. Like everything you're doing, you want to pretend like you're doing it as if you're the person running the website, and you want to do it. And if that's the case, you want to do things slowly, you want to do things naturally, especially with ChatGPT and all these other AI tools. We can put out a bunch of location pages overnight.
Mhm.
But is that going to look natural? We can build a bunch of authority overnight, but
Yeah.
it's not going to look natural. So I've said this advice to, we have a small law firm client and they can practice in a couple of states. We have a therapist client and she's fully telehealth. And
Mhm.
so the strategy becomes, okay, where do we start and where do we expand from here, right? And so I always tell people, especially, well, it kind of depends on your geographic area, right? If you're in a very, very small town, then maybe it doesn't make sense to go all in on your small town because you just might not have a lot of clients to pull from there. So maybe you go to the next big town or the next suburb. It's usually easier to rank in suburbs than it is to rank in like a metro area. And so I would start there and I would try to show up there and then start slowly expanding around that area. You're just kind of starting to grow the map. And then at the same time, you're kind of doing two things at once is you want to start building that authority. And when I say that, it sounds like this mysterious thing, but for local SEO, it's usually pretty easy. It's stuff like getting listed on sites that show to Google that you're a local website. And a lot of this is going to be boring stuff that you might not even think matters, but it's stuff like Yelp. It's stuff like Yellow Pages. It's stuff like
Mhm.
if you have a physical location, it could be MapQuest, which I know sounds silly that MapQuest matters in 2026, but it still does. And there's a couple different strategies, and I'll offer a free resource at the end if people want to look at it so they
Mhm.
can kind of see how to look at that kind of stuff. But it's like over time, as you build that authority up, then you kind of have because think of authority as an analog for trust, right? Google's looking for trust,
Mhm.
just like people are. And so if they can trust you, then they're like, okay, well, I can rank them over here, but now I can rank them over here because they have more trust. And so that's what I tried to do. Stay in one like real like hyper local geographic area. Like there's people in America tend to either live in a rural area where there's like a suburb next to them. They either live in like a suburban area or maybe there's like a hub city, or they live in a metro area where the suburbs around it, right? And whichever one you're in, try to target the mid market cities because those are the best ones to rank for between 50,000 to maybe like 250,000. Those are the best cities, I think. That's what I found to rank for. Try to show up in that little pocket of your state and then slowly start to expand to maybe other corners of the state or the other states that you can offer services in. And we could talk more about location pages as well. But yeah, I mean, that would be the strategy I'd do is just take it slowly, maybe make a list of like priority and maybe a little bit of distance, but don't worry too much about that. You can pop up in different parts of the state too, but just take it slowly, do it over time. But if you just take it 1 week at a time, within a year, you could potentially be ranking in multiple cities, pulling in leads from multiple areas of the state, even multiple states. But if you try to do it all right away, I've just seen people fail over and over again. I have people reach out to me from YouTube all the time, and they have 200 location pages, and they're like, why isn't this working? And I'm like, well, like, how
Because
fast
you have
did you
200 location pages.
yeah, how fast did you do this? It's one thing if you built this up over 3 years, but if you
Hmm.
built it up overnight because ChatGPT can, or some tool that's hooked up to ChatGPT or some other LLM can do that, it doesn't mean you should. So,
Right.
eh, so yeah, so that's kind of slow and steady wins the race.
Hmm. So for the telehealth people that can't get a Google business profile, what is your advice to them?
My advice to them is to work with one person in your local area one time ever, and then you could get a Google Business profile.
Yeah.
I mean, really, other than that, you can still, there's this big myth right now that SEO is dead, but SEO's died like 30 times in the
Yeah.
history of search engines. And so it's not really dead. And I can tell you from experience, like our clients get business from the blue links in Google all the time.
Mhm.
And so if you can show up highly in the organic search results, that's what the little blue links that we've been used to seeing in Google for 20 plus years now. That's what that's called, the organic links. And so if you can show up in the blue links, that's a good place to be. And AI overviews, AI search results, those are all pulling from some search engine somewhere. And so if you can show up in Google, there's a good chance you're going to start showing up in those other places and maybe be getting recommended by them. So that would be my advice, is like just go all in on your website. And yeah, if you're telehealth only, like you can still get a Google Business profile. You just gotta, it literally just says like you meet people, either you have a physical location, you meet people at
Yeah.
their location, at your location, or a neutral spot. So it's like if you have, think of your best client you have, just meet with them at coffee one time and have a session at a coffee shop. And then, I mean, technically you've met with them at a neutral location. And so now you qualify.
Yeah.
I don't know. That would be my advice. Sometimes I give people
Mhm.
the advice of like, you should open an office, even if you don't use it. It's not very practical, but
No.
if you could show up in the map pack, I can't guarantee a lot, but I can almost guarantee that that will help you get more leads for your business. I
Mhm.
think it would be worth just doing that one session in person, and that unlocks that feature for you. So something to think about.
Do you have any clients that have had a hard time like getting verified? I've had clients that they've sent in the video and it's rejected and then they have to keep doing it again. And these are people that actually have locations and they still had a hard time getting it verified.
Yeah, the video verification has always been kind of a pain in the rear for everybody, but they've made it a little easier as the years gone on. Specifically, I'm talking about 2025. Like at the start, I mean, 2024 was almost like it was like a gamble. I don't know,
Yeah.
let's see if we did it. But it's as the years gone on, they've gotten a little bit better. They now actually send you a report after each failed attempt. So that's one
Okay.
thing I tried to tell other web designers and SEOs is get that report from the client. It's pretty basic. There's 3 checkpoints.
Mhm.
The biggest mistakes I see people make is they don't unlock a door. It's really important to Google
Yeah.
that you unlock a door, right? So I always tell people like the quick flow for a video verification is you start at the corner of your street and you hit the street signs and then you hit the numbers on your house. So that way they can like whatever algorithm reviews the video first, because it's obviously not humans, is can see, okay, here's the address. I can equate that to Google Maps Street View or something like that, and then run to your house and then unlock the door. I literally have had people, I'm like, show that the door is locked. Walk up and jiggle the handle and show that it's locked, then unlock it, open it, and then walk up to wherever your home office is. Or if you have a physical location, that'd be a lot easier, and show marketing materials, show like your EIN letter from the IRS, show a bank statement. You can use a Sharpie to block out account numbers and numbers. If you don't want them to see that, that's fine. But just make sure that you can see the business name and the address. And then if you have any marketing materials, business cards, any trifolds, things like that, just lay them out and then show all that. And you only get really, you get 2 minutes, but you really only get
Yeah.
90 seconds because
Mhm.
your file will be too big. And then the last like trick is sometimes the file's too big and that causes it to fail. And so you got to go into your like camera settings and lower down from 1080p or 4K if you've been shooting in 4K, and lower it down to 720p so that way the file will get through. But if you do those things, again, not a lot of guarantees in life, but if you follow those steps, you'll probably get your video verification passed. I've had a couple of clients where I've literally gone to their house and helped them out. I just did one actually the other week and we finally got them approved. Sometimes this really only works for like newer businesses or when you're first getting a Google Business Profile reinstated. I will say I've done this a couple times. I don't recommend this unless you're really stuck in a loop, but if you've gone through 3 or 4 or 5 and you don't have any reviews yet because you're stuck in purgatory, just delete the profile and start over. Sometimes that can get you unstuck. We did that the other day with a client and now they're publicly visible, getting reviews on there. And it's like as soon as you get accepted, try to get at least one review, because that'll make it stick a little bit more and build trust signals. So that's some other advice, because sometimes they'll turn it back off. So anyway, yeah, everybody hates video verification. I have a video on video verifications if anybody wants
I
to
know.
watch it.
Yeah,
So
I watched
we
it.
can link to that.
Yeah. No, I'm laughing because I'm so glad I got to do the postcard version of that because
Oh yeah, me too.
I live in the country. Like I live in a neighborhood, but there's no way I could make it to my street sign and then to my office like in 90 seconds at all. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
had a client one time, he got in his truck and I was like, just drive, man. Just see what you can do.
I was like, I'm gonna have to break the law to get to my house because it's at least a mile away from the street sign. So I'm so glad I just had to type in a code. I'm so sorry for people that aren't able to do that. It was so much easier.
There's a couple things you could do to try to avoid the video verification. Now, this is kind of a newer little hack. So if you're just getting started, you're just getting your Google Business Profile going. If you already have your website listed, that's helpful. Try to have your address or at least your service area listed, maybe in the footer or on the contact page of your website. And try to get, when we talk about listings earlier, try to have a couple of those up before you do the Google Business Profile. Get your Yelp up, maybe even like a business Facebook page or something. But if you can have a couple things, especially if you have an address that's publicly visible, if you're using your home address, you don't necessarily have to do that, right? But just have a couple things that help increase Google's trust signal, because there's some little step where it's about to decide what kind of verification step do I give you. If it sees stuff, and if you're using like a Google account that has been around for a while and is tied to you, I would recommend using your personal Gmail for that step, because they'll be like, oh, I know you. You've been buying stuff and doing things for years now on this Gmail. And then when it goes to that next step, it might just say, okay, let's just do a phone call or a text message. You enter that code and then you're good to go. Sometimes it'll still do a video after that because they just, okay, we need to double check this is a newer business. But that is a way to get around that. I've seen a couple, I call them Insta verifications in my days, and those are great. Everybody's happy about those. So that's a little trick to try to get around it. But once you've triggered business video, you're kind of stuck on that route. So you got to get out of it. Unlock doors, dang it. That's the message I will shout from rooftops, because a lot of people skip that step. They think that's not that important. And then I tell them, like, did you do this? And they're like, oh, well, I didn't think that would. I told you 6 times.
It's like the one thing you told us to do and we didn't do it. It's like when you go to the store and you got to get one thing and we don't get that one thing.
I know, but I got 20 other things.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So for a dietitian in private practice, what's the simplest and most accurate way to figure out what people in their city are searching for? What tools do you recommend that they use? And I know we kind of talked already about for me personally, I don't think the volume necessarily matters to these kind of keywords, because it's not like it's going to be a million searches for dietitian in Athens, Georgia, but people are going to search it at some point.
Yeah. And I think if you've ever played around with SEO before and you see these massive, if you just look up like, I don't know, we'll just use weight loss as an example, right? There's probably tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands. Well, yeah, there's probably hundreds of thousands of people searching that per month in America, right? Just for that very general keyword. So the chances of ranking for that are none. But if you're looking up dietitian Athens, Georgia, I mean, we could do it really quick, but I'm going to guess that it's probably just a few hundred. And that seems like comparatively, what's the point of even showing up for that? But no. Au contraire.
100 new clients.
Yeah, you're looking at 100 eyeballs that you didn't get before, right? And that's each month. And even double-digit keywords, we've seen that can be the place where things get started. So it really depends. I would say of all the clients we work with, there's only probably 2 that even get in the quadruple digits. Most of the keywords we're tracking are in the triple digits. Property management, Bend, Oregon, believe it or not, that's a very popular keyword because Bend is like a little destination spot and there's a lot of new properties and a lot of empty properties apparently. But anyway, so it's literally lower end of the triple digits, and even some of these double digits. If you can stack those, a couple 20s and 40s turn into a low triple digit very quickly. And it's like only a few are going to actually get to those first search results. And so that's why showing up higher is it's like hedging your bets and trying to get better results from that. And the question is really, okay, so how do we make sure we're targeting the right keywords? For most people that aren't kind of in this industry, there's a few tools out there. Some like basic places to start is to use your intuition. The keyword you're thinking it is probably the right one most of the time. But you do want to double check that You want to ground that in like factual data. And so there's a couple things you could do. One, if you just search up like dietitian keywords, a lot of agencies over time, because it's an SEO tactic, have actually taken the list from a tool and printed it on a website. And so you can use that as a shortcut. I don't think that's like the best thing. I wouldn't consider that gospel, but it's a place to start, especially if you don't want to dig into a tool and figure things out. You'll probably have to click on a few results before you find one that's not too spammy, but eventually you'll find something that's okay. Now, a lot of people are telling you, hey, just ask ChatGPT. And you could do that, but you just got to remember that ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Grok, whoever your new electronic best friend is this year, they don't have a direct connection to SEO tools. So they're not really pulling in true search data. And so it's guessing. And anybody that knows anything about these large language models know that if they're guessing, they start to hallucinate because they want to be helpful to us. They've been trained to be helpful at all costs. And so we want to make sure that we don't trust that data again like it's gospel. And it can give you some ideas and maybe even have you think about some keywords you hadn't thought of before. Sometimes we get stuck in the ways we say words in our industry, right? And so it helps you get out of the jargon and helps you think about, oh, okay, maybe my potential clients are thinking about it like this. And then you want to get some grounding data, right? So you want to go to an actual tool. There's tools like SEMrush and Ahrefs out there, but I feel like they're overkill for most people that are just trying to figure out what the keywords are. Also, they're expensive as heck these days. So I encourage you to there's a tool called Google Keyword Planner, and it's totally free to use. It's part of the Google Ads platform. You're going to have to enter your credit card, but Google already has that, so don't worry about it. I'm just kidding, but I mean, and so it's like you put it in there, you don't have to run an ad campaign, and you get access to this tool. If you run a very small ad campaign, you get a little bit more data, but honestly, I don't think it's that helpful. Some people will argue with me on that. But anyway, you put the credit card in there, you don't have to pay any money. And now you get this tool, you can enter in those keywords that you've been wanting to try out, dietitian, Athens, Georgia, and all those other ones that maybe ChatGPT recommended or that website recommended. And you can actually say, oh, okay, does this actually have search volume in my area? And the best part about Google Keyword Planner is one, it's data straight from Google, so it's probably not wrong. And number two is there's a little like map pin, and when it starts off, it'll say United States or whatever country you're in. And you click on that and you can narrow it down to your area. And usually it'll have a metro area for even smaller cities because it knows that people lead out, because it's really a tool for ads. And so you're trying to target like a certain geographic area, geofencing. And so you're geofencing your search. And so that way you can really narrow down, okay, if I just search dietitians in Athens, Georgia, you'll get the cities that surround it as well. And then that gives you a better idea. And the only thing that stinks about Google Keyword Planner compared to the other tools is that it gives ranges. So it'll say something like 10 to 100 or 100 to 1,000, which is a pretty wide range. But at least you know there's something there, right? If you see 0 to 10, then you're like, okay, this keyword probably doesn't matter. But if you see 10 to 100, that could mean 10, it could be 90, but at least it's something that's got you like, okay. But especially if you see any triple digits, you're like, we're definitely going to go after that. And this all is very relative. Sometimes a double digit in a small suburb can be more valuable than a quadruple digit in a metro area because it's actually an attainable keyword. But that it takes a little bit more than we probably have time for to figure that out. The key is just getting a bank of keywords so you're feeling confident. Okay, for the services that I offer, these are the things that people are actually searching for on the way to my business. And I want to make sure that I have a page. If we stick with Athens, I want to have a page for this keyword, Athens, Georgia, this keyword, Athens, Georgia, this keyword, Athens, Georgia. And then over time, naturally, slow and steady, like we talked about before, you want to kind of rinse and repeat for the cities around you. Maybe you go by population and work your way down. Maybe you invert that and you go, I'm going to go for easy ones and work my way up. It's kind of up to you. And you don't need to build 60 service pages for every little subservice that you do. Broad strokes, see where there's actually search volume. And over time, maybe it would make sense to make some sub ones because you're like, man, people are really looking for this specific thing, right? Maybe people are really looking for help while they're using like a GLP-1 or something like that. And so you're figuring out ways to zoom in on that. But start with the broad strokes, get more specific later.
I want to get your thoughts on something that dietitians always struggle with when I talk to them is that we don't like to be called nutritionist because we're not nutritionists or dietitians. Because we always say like anybody can be a nutritionist, but not everybody can be a dietitian. And some people go by RDN, which is like registered dietitian nutritionist, which combines them. So they tend to struggle with the fact that most times people are probably looking for the word nutritionist, but they don't want to call themselves that. So do you have any advice for that kind of situation where the general public is using a word that they don't necessarily want to be called? Maybe another example would be, I have a friend that's a massage therapist and he calls himself a massage therapist, and they do not like to be called masseuse. So it's like,
Oh, but people
it's
might
kind of
be
that
searching
kind of
that.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I always ask people, I don't always ask people, but sometimes I ask people, like, why'd you get into business? You get into business to have people call you the right name or to make
Yeah.
some money? No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, so here's actually something that we found one time. So it was kind of a funny story. One of our clients, long-term clients, is a mortgage broker. And at the time, I didn't know the difference between a mortgage broker and a mortgage lender. The short version is mortgage brokers have multiple options behind the scenes. Mortgage lenders usually like a bank. They're like, you have to work with us and use our type of thing, right? Mortgage broker can kind of shop for you and match you up. Based on that, sounds like, maybe mortgage broker is a better option because you get to shop around, right? And I'm sure mortgage lenders will come back and downvote this post because they're like, no, this is why we're better. Just kidding. I'm sure mortgage lenders aren't listening. If they are, I'm sure they're great people. But anyway, because I didn't know the difference, I remember every time we work with a new client, we do an SEO strategy sprint. That's the first thing we do. The first month, we're literally just figuring out what's our game plan. And we end with this video that I literally call the SEO game plan video. And I'm going through, and the whole time I'm doing the video, I'm saying mortgage lender, mortgage lender, mortgage lender, mortgage lender, mortgage lender. These are the keywords we want to target. And there was more search volume for that than broker. I remember that. And the client, they come back and they say, everything sounds great, except we're not mortgage lenders, we're mortgage brokers. Remember? And I was like, oh yeah. And so I was like, well, everything still stays the same except broker instead of lender. But then that got me thinking. I was like, well, shoot, there are actually more people search for lender than broker. And I was like, how can we target that? And so what we ended up doing is just like a SEO cheat. So this is the difference between like black hat SEO and gray hat SEO. If you're unfamiliar with the term, black hat is like using like a spammy technique to try to show up higher, where white hat would be basically doing nothing. Okay, there's really no such thing as white hat SEO. The second you start to change your SEO title in the Yoast plugin on WordPress, you're technically doing gray hat SEO because you're technically trying to manipulate the SERPs to make you show up higher. So anyway, you should be happy to stay in gray hat SEO land. So I'll never suggest anything from black hat. But a black hat strategy is to use a gateway page where you're basically creating a page to target one keyword, and then programmatically you're redirecting them to a different page on the back end. Usually it's like pharma or gambling or something like that, right? And it's like a trap. But here's my gray hat strategy for all my dietitians out there that don't want to be called nutritionists. You can actually still potentially target those keywords. If you were to target, say, nutritionist near me, and you can say, here's what a nutritionist can give you, here's what a dietitian can give you. I'm a dietitian, and here's how I can help you better. Now, of course, take a step back. You really want to be talking from the point of view from the potential client and be like, how can I help you? These are your pain points, things like that. But that's a strategy that you can use.
Usually I tell them one of two things. They either are okay with being called dietitian nutritionist, because that is a regulated term that they can choose. We have a choice between RD and RDN, or kind of what you said, they write information about what the difference between a dietitian and nutritionist is and how we can help them differently than just a nutritionist. Like, we can do medical nutrition therapy and help you with your diabetes or the GLP-1 you mentioned earlier. A nutritionist can't do that. So that's the kind of stuff they usually tend to be like, okay, I can do that.
Yeah. I think the first one's great too. So I like that advice. So everybody listen to Courtney. She knows what she's talking about.
Sometimes. So, question, what is a keyword assumption that you see small business owners make that usually turns out to be wrong?
I think probably the biggest thing is that it's more complicated than it is, which maybe isn't the answer you were thinking of. But I think that a lot of people try to make keyword research out to be this thing that it really isn't. Now that I've done this for dozens and dozens of clients and consulted with hundreds of businesses, it's like that you could track 100 keywords for any business, but there's probably only going to be about 5 that really get people to the website. And those are the money keywords, which should point to your money pages, which are usually going to be a service or a location page, right? And it's going to be something like dietitian near me or nutritionist near me. It might be something a little bit more specific. It could be like sports dietitian or something about diabetes management. Sure. Yeah, it could definitely be something like that. A lot of people, especially SEOs, we like to track these related keywords because it can give us more information and it can help us decide whether we want to build a separate page. Like, do we branch this page out into 2 separate pages? Do we take these 2 separate pages and merge them together because they're competing with each other now? But yeah, that's probably the biggest misconception I see, is that people think it's going to be super complicated. But Google changed the way it let SEO tools measure data recently. And everybody was panicked because it meant that we would probably have to, this ended up not coming to fruition, but people were speculating that we would have to track less keywords. And I was like, good, it's less noise.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's nice to have. It's a nice to have. It's not a need to have. Like if I needed to, we could probably go down and through all of our clients and say, okay, I know we're tracking like over 100 keywords for all these clients, but just pick our top 10. If we picked our top 10, we'd probably have a lot better focus. But it is nice to have that data. It's nice to have those optics. And sometimes you can, like some wins you weren't expecting, can start to pop up, or some strategies can pop up from doing these
Mhm.
related keywords. But if you're just getting started and you're trying to do your own SEO and you use a tool like SERP Fox, SERP Fox,
Mhm.
SERP stands for Search Engine Result Page. They have a tool where you can track 10 keywords for free. So I recommend it to a lot of DIYers out there. Just put what you think are the top 10, especially if you've grounded that with real data from like a Google Keyword Planner, and just track them. And I bet that would be all you'll need when you're first getting started. Yeah, it's not as complicated as you think. That would be the misconception I try to debunk. Myth busted.
Yes. So when people that are listening hear us say dietitian near me, do you think that they're going to type that in as the keyword on their page and put it as their H1?
Well, it shouldn't quite do that, but there actually is some value, and there's been some recent research by some bigger people in local SEO that you need to actually say near me on the page. I know that sounds
Okay.
silly, but you still have to do that,
But
but you do.
naturally, I love when I go to a
Yeah.
page and it's, are you looking for a dietitian near me? And I'm like, that doesn't sound natural. Can we do it differently?
Yeah. So here's what I would recommend doing, because you kind of do need to say something like that at some point on the page. So here's the thing is there's usually three keywords you want to check for like your big ones, right? If it's say it's dietitian, which probably is, right? You probably want to target dietitian, city, state, dietitian near
Mhm.
me, and just dietitian. Sometimes that last
Mhm.
one, that one that's all alone, can be hard to rank for because a lot of times like national competitors will pop in for that. And so don't worry if
Mhm.
you don't show up for that one. But those first two, if there's 170 people that search dietitian city state, there's probably 170 or maybe even more that search dietitian near
Mhm.
me. And
Yeah.
that's like a different pool of people. So, you know, you don't want to ignore them. And what I see recently, we had a client, they're a pretty big like home improvement company in our town. They got trucks everywhere, things like that. This is the biggest company we've worked with to date. And they've been working with an agency for a few years. And we go in there and we are auditing things in that first month. And we're like, like they're showing up okay, not as well as they would have liked, or they probably wouldn't have looked for a different company. But they were showing up okay for service, city, state. But
Mhm.
if we search service near me, invisible
Mhm.
for every single keyword. And I like to call them the SEO hotspots. Okay, these are the four most important parts on your website in order is your SEO title, which is like
Mhm.
that's something you'll probably set with an SEO plugin like Yoast if you're using WordPress, or it's in the SEO settings if you're using something like Squarespace, Webflow, Wix, or something like that. That's the most important thing. You can change your ranking overnight, positively or negatively, by changing that. So be careful. You know,
Yeah.
with great power comes great responsibility. And so the SEO tile is important. There, I would stay way more natural. If you look at something, although I do like to look at bigger things, sometimes I'll look at like Safeway or like the oil change places in town.
Yeah.
They'll put near me in the
Mhm.
SEO title. So, I mean, sometimes it might be worth experimenting, but I think stick more natural in the early days. Service, city, state, you can put some words around that. Over time, we like to add trust signals like top rated, best if you feel bold enough to make that claim.
Best
But top
dietitian
rated,
ever.
yeah, top rated is usually pretty safe to be a best dietitian ever. Top
Yeah.
rated is pretty safe to put because if you have five-star reviews, technically you're pretty highly rated and you only have
Mhm.
five-star reviews. So that is top rated. But anyway, the other SEO hotspots are like the H1, the permalink, and the meta description. The meta description is not actually a ranking factor, but it can help people click through. So I like to think of
Mhm.
it in this group, and that's the little like gray text that shows below the blue link when you're on the search page. And Google can change that at will, so don't be mad if they do. But the other two things are like the link of the page. And if say your homepage is targeting maybe like your brand name, and you have a page for dietitian Athens, Georgia, then it probably wouldn't hurt to have the link actually be slash dietitian dash Athens dash GA slash. Like that would be probably the link I would recommend. Unless that's what you target with your homepage. Obviously, you can't change the link to your homepage, so you just leave
Yeah.
that alone. And then the other thing is the H1, which is like that first header on your page. I like
Mhm.
to put something like dietitian in Athens, Georgia. You could say
Yeah.
top rated. You could say some other trust signal. It doesn't have to do with like being the best, 10 years of experience and things like that. You can
Mhm.
put that stuff in the H1, but somewhere on the page. And usually I try to put this in the body text somewhere in the
Yeah.
page. I would put something like, try to find a place that makes it more natural. And this is like my little trick to try to make it sound as natural as possible. It's like, If you're looking for a
Mm-hmm.
dietitian near me, and I put it in
Sentence.
quotes because I'm like,
Yeah.
you're doing that, then I'll say something like, then you found me, and then
Yeah.
explain, and then keep going from there. So that's like a little hack we've used. And so going back to the example of the home improvement company, we did that, and it took a couple days to get the page to get indexed, but once it did, they started showing up like fifth on
Mm-hmm.
that page, which got a ton of search volume. And so we're hoping that that will lead to, like I said, it's like you're kind of doubling the amount of eyes you get on your website, which hopefully leads to double leads, double clients. It doesn't always trickle down like that, but that's the hope. So yeah, that's for the near me searches. Yeah, stay natural, but do include near me somewhere and try that hack. If
Somewhere.
you're looking for
Just not
blank
there.
near
Not
me,
just at the top
yeah,
with
don't
nothing
put it at
around
the
it.
very top. You can sneak it somewhere in the middle somewhere. Yeah,
Be a little more
play
subtle.
around with it. Yes, be subtle.
So we talked a little bit about location pages. Do you think that they are worth it? Do you feel like this is something that they should do as a top priority once they've got their site up? How does that move the needle to have these pages?
Yeah, 1,000% location pages work. They feel like they should be duplicate content. They feel like Google shouldn't like them. They work. They work.
Yeah.
They keep working. We don't know why, so we keep doing it. My overall strategy would be I kind of try to, during our SEO strategy sprint, I said my team, they build what we call an ideal sitemap, where we're like,
Hmm.
okay, when everything's said and done, a year from now, this is kind of what the sitemap would look like. And sometimes it can be big. I just saw one this morning that's 100 pages when it's all said and done. I was like, dang,
Yeah.
they have like 20 pages right now. So that kind of makes sense. But it's okay. Maybe there's some pages that we can trim out here. Maybe there's a couple service pages we don't really need. Maybe there's a couple locations we don't need to target. But I could see that the website eventually growing to that. But most of the time, it ends up being about 20, 30, 40 pages, especially for something like a dietitian. And again, it's all about doing it naturally, right? And so the flow
Mhm.
you would want to do it in is first, make sure you have your core pages. If you were starting from scratch, make sure you have your home, your about, your contact, things like that, right? And then instead of having a services page that used to be the best practice a while ago, you want to make sure you have an individual page for each service. If you look up the local search ranking factors, they just released the new 2026 ones recently, and the 2023 ones were like my Bible. That was basically what I based my business on. So what they do is they interview 40 or 50 local SEO people and they say, what do you guys think are the most important factors? And they take all that data and they put it together in a chart. The number one factor for organic ranking is individual service pages because what all it does is it gives you a chance to show up for different things in your city. And so that's like the foundation. Once you have that dialed in Athens and you feel like, okay, I'm starting to rank, maybe you're not ranking on the first page yet, but you're starting to show up. So you're like, okay, I feel like I've done everything right on this page. Then you can rinse and repeat in other pages. And again, I have a free resource I'll recommend at the end that kind of talks about this flow. But I like to start with, sometimes I'll call them V1 versions of the location page, where you're literally just, depending on what your keyboard looks like, you're either going to hit Command F or Control F. You're going to find all the cities, and you're going to find all the Athens, and you're going to replace them with a city next to it and try to publish that page. See what happens. Does it rank? Does it get indexed? Sometimes Google will be like, hey, fool, that looks way too similar to the other one.
It's the
And you're like,
exact
okay,
same
okay,
page.
let me try to
Yeah.
work on this a little bit more. But I can tell you what, probably, oh gosh, probably 19 times out of 20, Google will index that page and it'll start ranking, and it might not be ranking well, but at least it's showing up, right?
Mhm.
And then you can do that again for the next city pack and the next city, and you work your way down the line. And over time, whether you're, a person trying to do your own SEO or you're a small agency that, really cares about your clients, you only have so much energy that you can devote per week to ranking.
Mhm.
And so, okay, you prioritize your energy and you say, okay, you're like, for me, I'm in Central Oregon. Bend is over 100,000 people. The next closest town is Redmond with 40,000. Everybody else is about 10,000. And we still want to show up in those towns. But a lot of times, the location pages we build for those cities initially, that V1, it works. We can show up very highly in those cities because people are silly and don't target those surrounding cities, even though there's tons of money in those cities. But maybe in Redmond, and especially in Bend, we got to work on this page a little harder. So V2, maybe we're adding, you can put like a client success story and you can anonymize it. So you're following HIPAA and all that good stuff. But you can talk about Jay was dealing with this, did that. And guess what? By the time you're done with that little success story, you've used a lot of keywords very naturally. So that's a
Mhm.
nice section to use. If you have specific testimonials from that area, pull those in specifically and highlight that. And then another thing you can do is you can use FAQs, and you can add in what's called schema, which is a little bit of code. Sometimes there's a plugin that can help with that. ChatGPT can actually help you with that. And that information tells the search engines like, hey, like here's FAQs for this area. So yeah, so that would be kind of the flow I would do. Obviously, get your core pages set up so that we have a website that looks normal, but then individual service pages for all the services that you do, and then start doing that. And then over time, you can add layers onto those location pages.
Two questions. One is, how often should they do a location page like that? Like one page a month, less, more? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I generally say if you do one page a week, that would probably be like a safe volume. If you want to do a little bit more, you can. If you want to do less because you don't have enough time, that's also okay. Like there's
Yeah.
no prescribed amount. But if you like do an ideal sitemap for yourself, you like draw it out and you say, okay, I could see if I target my 5 closest areas and say you have 5 services you offer, that's 25 pages. One page per week will take you about half a year to do. You can do that. And the nice thing is you tee these pages up, right? If you're using WordPress or any other page builder, really, you can schedule the page to drop at a certain time. So you can devote 2-4 hours of deep work to getting these pages done. And then they can publish on their own, or you can just give yourself a couple minutes to hop in and publish that page when you're ready. So yeah, that's the way I would do it.
Second question is, how much content do they need on these pages?
I actually just did a video on YouTube that says copy this service page template. And we're big fans of StoryBrand at my little lean agency. And so we like to follow that framework. And so the TLDR is you're making the potential client the hero of the journey, your Yoda, their Luke Skywalker. You're talking about their pain points and presenting like a solution, which, believe it or not, you offer. And then you introduce yourself as the guide. You have a past section. You show some testimonials. You maybe link out to your other services. They're actually looking for something different. And then you end with a direct call to action. By the time you're done with that, you can have anywhere from 300 words to 1,000 words. It doesn't need to be a lot, but you want to have a website that has a little bit of meat on the bones, but it doesn't need to be something crazy. If you have no idea, you can look at like your competitors' websites and see how many words that they have on there. And I would say look up dietitian near me and see what the first 5 results have. And you'll be surprised. Some of them will probably only have a couple hundred words, and some of them will be a couple thousand words. But I wouldn't worry too much about it. And if you feel like, I really need more content, that's where like an FAQ section can come in and kind of bolster things up. But yeah, people are skimmers these days. So I would lean towards less content than more. And I think that it goes back to that English teacher in high school where you're like, how long should we make the essay, Mr. Smith? And he'd be like, as long as it takes. And I'd be like, all right, well, thanks. Because I mean, that is the answer. Realistically, at the end of the day, what's going to get you to rank higher has nothing to do with the actual content on the page, which is silly. But you do have to have, there's 2 things for SEO. If you remember nothing else, remember this. It comes down to relevancy and authority. Relevancy is telling Google what you do and where you do it. So you have to make sure in those SEO hotspots, you're checking those boxes, or you won't even end up in the realm. And then from there, authorities would get you to rank higher. And so, and that's something you're going to do over time. Right now, we've talked a lot about getting this foundation, because this is a step that if people, they either get overwhelmed or they skip it, right? And it's so important that you get the foundation right. The problem is a lot of times you do the foundational stuff and you're still showing up on the 3rd page. I don't know about you, but I don't get to the 3rd page a lot when I'm actually going to pull my wallet out and buy stuff. But that's good. That means you've made progress. Now you can get to the messy stuff and start working on everything else. But people get overwhelmed by this first step and they stop going and they quit right before the miracle.
Yeah, I would say the number one thing I see for people that already have a site is that they don't put where they're located at all. Or they don't put their name. I've had the few like that where like their name is nowhere to be found. And I'm like, you have to talk about yourself some. You have to say your name somewhere. And and then the whole location thing. Like even if, there's someone that's licensed in multiple places and they're like, oh, I didn't know which one to put or where to start, they still have to know where you are, because they don't even know if they can work with you, because they know that you need licensure to work with them. So even if you showed up when they searched, they don't know if they can work with you. And why would you want to waste your time with them reaching out to you and then you saying, I actually can't work with you because you're not where I'm licensed. So don't be afraid to put where you're located.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, the most common mistake I see when I look at websites is, and the problem is the SEO plugins tell you to do this a lot of the time, but I'll go to a page, especially a homepage, and it'll say, you look at the SEO title, and it'll say home, bar, brand name. And I'm just like, Well, who's gonna, yeah, maybe you'll show up for your brand name, which is good over time. But
Yeah.
when you first start your business, nobody knows who you are. Your mom probably doesn't even know the name of your business. I could ask my mom, I've been doing this, I'm about to enter my fourth year of business. I'm like, what's the name of my business? She'd be like, oh, shoot, I know what this
Yeah,
is.
same.
Then something, bend
Something,
can. I'm like,
something,
no, no, no. But
something on the
anyway,
computer.
yes. And so it's like, what are people actually searching for? It's this. And of course you want to show up for your branded searches as well, but that will come. That will come with time. And that should be
Mhm.
one of the first things that you check off. But yes, you absolutely want to be putting what you do and where you do it because yeah,
Mhm.
that's so important.
So let's touch a little bit on Google Business Profile before we get to our final piece with our rapid fire questions.
Yeah.
So, do you feel like Google Business Profile is still a big deal? And is it important with AI search and everything going on?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it is. I mean, as long as people continue to use Google, then you need your Google Business Profile. People that are telehealth only, please do that one meeting like I recommended earlier. And if you get stuck with the Google
Yeah.
video verification, unlock that door because it's going to be so helpful to get that. When they looked at the ranking factors from 2023 to 2026, what changed? Because a lot of it stayed stable, which is nice, which is why I feel pretty safe being in this local SEO space. When you look at people in the national SEO arena, they're panicking because of these things called AI overviews. You've probably seen
Yeah.
this. You ask a question to Google, this little AI thing pops up now.
Mhm.
However, if you search for dietitian city state, most of the time you're not going to get an AI overview. They're definitely triggering a lot less in local SEO.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, you think about when you're asking a question on Google, you don't necessarily need to go to the website. You just want to get the question answered. But if you are trying to work with somebody in your area, eventually you have to work with a human, right? Until we all have
Yeah.
robot assistants, like that is the thing that's going to happen. So it's like you kind of need to go to their website. You kind of need to vet them to make sure that's who you want to work with. Sure, maybe someday in the not so distant future, we might have a little AI agent that works for us and does this research for us. That doesn't sound out of the realm of possibilities. I know a lot of people that probably won't do that, but I'm sure there will be people maybe like us that would take advantage of that for some of the things in our lives, right? But that being said, it's like when people search, the first place they're going to look is on Google over 90% of the time still. And so if you can show up in that map pack, it can be massively helpful. Also, if Google's AI overviews start to take over a little bit more, they get some traction on AI mode. If people start to use Gemini more than ChatGPT, Google's going to ground their information they're pulling from the data they already have. They already
Mhm.
have the Google Business Profile. And so why not keep going to that? So yeah, I think the Google Business Profile is super helpful, but you want to make sure that you're in other places. This year, ChatGPT uses a mixture now of Bing and Google for their search engines. And so just going and making sure your Bing places is filled up can be helpful. And there's actually a way to sync your Bing places to Google Business Profile. It's free, it's built into Bing places.
Mhm.
So you just go in, set it up, turn that on, and I think it's like once a week it syncs. And so
Yeah.
I just worry about one thing and I did that. So there's a couple extra steps that have been
Mhm.
added this year to make sure you're showing up in some of these things. But for the most part, it's good for SEO, it's good for everything else.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So I'm going to try some rapid questions just to see what your first thoughts are.
All
So,
right, here
what
we go.
is, they're not too deep.
I've always wanted to be
What?
on like a game show,
Yeah.
like Price is Right or Family Feud. So it feels like this
Oh
is my
my
moment.
gosh. Yes. Me too. So, one free local SEO tool that you would choose if you could only pick one.
I would say SERP Fox because you got to track your
Mhm.
results. And so SERP, FOX, they're not sponsored. I just think they're really cool that they offer 10 keywords for free. Do that,
Mhm.
track your keywords, and you'll see if what you're doing is actually making a difference.
Awesome. One location page tip that you wish every small business actually listened to.
It's not as hard as you think. Like you can literally
Yeah.
just start by command Fing through the page and hitting publish and seeing what happens. Like start there
Hmm.
and see what
Hmm.
happens.
Yeah. Just start. I feel like a lot of
Yeah.
dietitians need to hear that because we're all a bit of a perfectionist, and I always tell them done is better than perfect. So just do something.
Yes.
Your favorite easy win for improving rankings, and we're going to say a week. Is it
In
possible?
a week. Yeah. So, I mean, what you talked about earlier is sometimes people aren't even mentioning where they do their service. And so, you know, uh, follow me here. I explained this in the freebie I'll give away later. But Screaming Frog is a free SEO tool. If you use
Hmm.
it, all it does is it pulls in all the technical SEO data. You can get very complicated. You can get overwhelmed by the data. But if you go in the top left, trust me when you're doing this, listen to this part again, filter down by HTML, you'll only see the pages for the website. Hit save. And then it's going to say one of the or export, and then hit save and open in Google Docs and look at the one column that is the SEO title. You're now looking at the SEO title for every single one of your pages on your website. You want to do two things. One, make sure that you don't have pages that are competing with themselves. That's a huge mistake that people make. It's called keyword cannibalization. It's kind of gross, but you're basically competing with yourself, and those two pages are weighing each other down. And so sometimes it's better to just delete that page. Sometimes you want to redirect it to the source page, but then go through and just kind of do a quick audit. Hey, am I actually saying service, city, state in these SEO titles? If you're not, fix that. If I have a week to do that, gives you a couple days to work on that, get that dialed in, go to Google Search Console, ask Google to recrawl your pages, and I bet within a week you're showing up a lot higher for a lot of keywords.
Awesome. What would you say is the most underrated Google Business Profile feature?
So the biggest factor that changed between those two ranking factors was recency of reviews. Getting more better reviews, like a steady stream. You don't want to get bursts. A lot of people get in this habit where they'll get a review, then they'll wait a couple months and they'll get reviews. But if you can get one review per week, that could be good. If you're not super tech savvy, when you go to click on the get more reviews feature, they've added a QR code. That could be really helpful, especially if you do see people in person. You can have that QR code out, just remind them, hey, if you want to follow like HIPAA guidance and things like that, they say when you respond to a review, you can just say thank you.
Very generic.
You don't have to, that's all I would say. I would just say thank you for the review. Don't acknowledge that they actually go there, just say thank you for the review. And then you're good to go. And so some people get weirded out about reviews when they're in protected spaces, but you're not forcing people to leave a review, right? They're doing it out of the kindness of their heart, and people can do all sorts of things. And they're actually coming out with a new feature soon where people will be able to leave anonymous reviews. So that'll be really helpful. But yes, that's a brand new feature that'll be coming out 26. So
that sounds great and scary at the same time.
It does sound scary, but they also there's something to it where they'll be trying to prevent the spam, but we'll see what happens there.
Yeah. I will say the clients that I have that do what you just said, and especially if they're in person and they have the QR code there, and we have it on a sign, and then we also made cards for them to just have in the check-in area in the lobby. They immediately started getting reviews. I'm like, because you have to ask. They don't know what they don't know. You have to ask.
Sometimes you got to ask a couple times. It's okay. It's not annoying. People know. People were used to it. We get it from the coffee shops. We get it from the tire place. So it's like, why not for my dietitian?
Yeah. All right, last one. One metric that tells you whether your local SEO is actually working.
Well, I'll say two. One is your ranking, because that's really the thing you're influencing with SEO, right? Hopefully everything else comes. Hopefully the ranking leads to impressions going up, which leads to clicks, which go to contact form submissions, or however you like people to show up as a lead. The other one is money. Are you actually getting results? And so those should be the two things. Everything in between needs to be tied together. Courtney, you brought up earlier, if people get stuck on your website because a button's broken so they can't get to the contact page, that could cause a bottleneck in the whole thing. Got to take this holistic approach to make sure that people are coming from Google all the way to booking that contact form submission, to sitting in front of you, even if it's on Zoom, getting that first consultation so they work with you hopefully for a long time, right? You want to make sure there's no bottlenecks. But none of this works if you're not showing up higher. So again, using a tool that's tracking the keywords and seeing that you're actually getting results, that's the start of this whole cascade that hopefully gets you the money results in the end.
Awesome. This has been so good and so helpful. For listeners who want to keep learning from you, where should they start first?
Yeah, the first place I want you to go is I want you to go to 30dayseo.com, because it sounds like we got a lot of DIYers in the audience. And so for you DIYers out there, this is our 30-day local SEO playbook. It's over 100 pages. It's massively helpful. It goes through everything we talked about in way more detail, and it breaks it down into daily tasks. And I wouldn't recommend doing it 30 days in a row, but if you could block out some time for 30 days, do it throughout the year. But if you just follow this playbook, you will be showing up higher. That much I can say. And 30dayseo.com. It's totally free. Check it out. After that, you should go to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, because we drop videos every week where we give advice on how to show up higher for local search, whether it's Google or AI search. So we're always posting new videos. So you should definitely check that out.
Awesome. And what's your website?
Oh yeah, you can always go to the website, thencandesigns.com. And if you go to thencandesigns.com/SEO video, if you feel a little overwhelmed, you can always do that. Go /SEO video, and I'll send you a little personalized video. Me or one of my team members will send you a little personalized video, give you some little tips on how to help your website. And so maybe you're like, I was listening to the podcast, I got overwhelmed, and I just don't know what to do. I'm throwing up my hands. I got the playbook. There's too many pages. Dang it, Sam, just tell me what to do. You get a little 10-minute video back from us. And so you should check that out too.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate your time, and I've learned a lot. I hope everyone listening has learned a lot, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.
Thanks for having me on, Courtney. I really appreciate it. That was fun.